Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Longplay Club for Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. This is part 3. I'm your host, Christian Buckley, codename Panther. Joining me, as always, for the Longplay Club is Jack Martin, codename Pigeon. Oh,
Good to be here.
Did you practice that?
I can just do lots of strange things with my mouth and tongue. I can do this.
I did.
What?
Yeah.
Do an elephant.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
I can't do an elephant.
Damn.
I wish I could.
Can you do the SpongeBob dolphin noise?
No. Here's the thing, though. I feel like I could do these noises if I had ample time to practice.
All right, you have a week.
All right.
Need that Batman prep time. I feel you.
Yeah. That's the thing. I always explain, like, when I do the water drop noise, and everyone's like, how did you learn to do that? And I said, well, I had to climb this mountain. I had to pick this flower. I had to go to this shadowy organization. And they fed me these weird things, and I had to, do these things. I described Batman Begins. That's how I learned how to do it.
Very nice. You've heard him already. Kevin Diaz, codename Scorpion. How are you?
Oh, what does a scorpion make? Like type beat. I've lived in Arizona for the majority of my life, and I've never had to like 1v1 a scorpion yet.
What? I thought that was the whole thing.
Yeah, you would think it's very common, but it's really not. It's really not. They're pretty easy to avoid.
They're terrifying.
They definitely exist, but I've never had to 1v1 a scorpion though.
Is
Never.
scorpion candy a thing, or is that just for tourists?
Yeah, no, that's a thing. It's not like just chilling at like your local like store or whatever,
Okay.
like in the aisle. No, it's they are there. They're disgusting. I would never ever. No, I'm good with that. You mean the like candy where the scorpion's like frozen in the center, right?
Like Jurassic Park style.
Yeah, those exist. I am not purchasing them. No,
Fair enough.
Absolutely not.
Good
No.
choice.
Rounding out the Long Play Club, Omar Nakvi, codename Jaguar.
I got the Jag, baby.
Yeah,
We all gotta do a watch through of Austin Powers.
We totally do. There was some more this episode, I thought, of Austin Powers, I think.
How many are there? 4?
3.
3.
Hopefully a 4 someday. But
Yeah.
3.
It's the perfect trilogy.
Now, speaking of Austin Powers, Jack, are you the one that owns the Game Boy game?
No, I wish.
I could have
I have
sworn
no clue what you're
that
talking about.
you had like 3 Game Boy games and one of them was an Austin Powers game.
I used to have a fridge magnet that had, you would press it and Dr. Evil, or was it Dr. Evil, would say, "Show me the money," and it was very amazing.
Very nice. Well, this week we're continuing Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots. Last week we left off with a new single mission. Go meet Big Mama. I forget how it was phrased specifically, but we will get to that because before we dive into Act 3, Third Son, once again, Sonny's eggs, but this time, no numbers. We just get a tune with some elements, right? Like,
I did have a big brain meets moment on stream.
okay.
Are you guys picking up that the number of eggs that she's cooking coincides with the act that you're on?
Whoa,
Interesting.
no.
Holy
It's
crap.
true. Pay attention, boys. I was like, wait a minute. There was definitely 2 last week, and there was 1 the first week, and there's 3 this week. That has to mean there's some sort of correlation. Perhaps an anomaly. I don't know.
Now,
But I would like to believe it's a correlation.
I thought because all 3 eggs looked identical, it was a future like tease to the fact that there are 3 clones of Big Boss. We get mention of all 3 in the
It's
briefing
true.
section.
Perhaps.
So,
I have a dumb question.
okay.
Is the tune she is singing all this stuff in, is that in the tune of the Metal Gear theme that is no longer
Yeah.
in use because it was plagiarized?
I think
I thought we said that in the first episode, right?
Omar might have brought it up, and I think there's definitely like a slight melody to it there, but they definitely diverge after a certain point. But yeah, I
Like for a
definitely-
little bit, it sounds like it, like what you're saying, Christian, and then at a certain point, I'm like, Sonny,
Yeah.
hold a goddamn tune.
Because,
If you're
like-
gonna do it, just do it.
I think what carries over is like the da-na-na, da-na, and then she's like, da-da. It's like, that's not it. That's really not it.
Yeah.
But
Hey, she's out here doing her best, cooking eggs, Metal Gear theme. I'm gonna try that next time I cook eggs. Oh, of course, scrambled.
all right, so
The-
we get
the-
other tips from Naomi on Sunny's eggs, and honestly, I felt some resentment from Sunny there. I thought that was kind of like Naomi's giving her all these tips, and Sunny looks like she's ready to slap her because she's like telling her what to do. What do we think of that entire scene with Naomi? Because last week we did talk about Naomi a fair amount, where it's like, okay, she definitely seems like she feels a little guilty for all the stuff with Snake. Her motives are very unclear, and now she's acting like big sister, mom to Sunny, who again is being raised by two very cold men.
The scene specifically, like with her and how she's interacting with Sunny, or like the whole mission briefing.
We can start with her and Sunny, but
Okay.
because the introduction, it did feel a bit like, again, another aspect of Naomi. It's just like, okay, Naomi's like this too, I guess, like, to me, so.
I kind of liked the idea of her helping Sunny, and I feel like maybe Sunny was worried about or just didn't know how to talk to her because I assume it sounds like she has a sheltered life.
Yeah.
But in general, I think the whole the Naomi Otacon stuff this scene was some of the worst Metal Gear so far. I thought I was really kind of uncomfortable by a lot of it, I guess.
So it definitely comes across that way. In my head the whole time, though, it seemed like it was like her playing him, because there was the stuff with the USB stick that she was trying to do something with, and then we see later in the episode that she ditched them. So I thought it was her just manipulating him, and it just came across as comical to me. But I don't know if it was supposed to be earnest or.
It definitely was. It was definitely Naomi trying to play Otacon. And for the Sunny bit, I do appreciate how Naomi seemingly was more genuine with Sunny than she was with Otacon. It seemed like she actually cared about Sunny. It was like, hey, maybe you should let her outside this fucking plane in the sky. And Otacon's like, well, she doesn't want to leave the Nomad. It's like, all right, you're weird. That you're an adult. You know that you should probably let kids go outside every once in a while. So I appreciate that about Naomi. But yeah, it just seemed very cartoony for Otacon not to and obviously he's a socially inept person, but I kind of got the sense that he's matured a little bit since Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2, and it was just a little silly to see him be very easily manipulated and not coerced, but he was just sort of he couldn't see what was going on between what Naomi was trying to do, so I thought it was a little silly.
Yeah, similar echoes and everything, but I think at the end of the day, it's I do recall his reaction to Sniper Wolf, right, in the first Metal Gear, right, and it's well, I guess that part of Otacon never really matured in a way, you know what I'm saying? Definitely he has grown as a character for sure, absolutely, but I think as weird as it sounds, if there's an attractive female per se or whatever, my boy Otacon kind of slips up a little bit, even when Snake, asks him what happens, why aren't you watching or whatever, and he's like, oh, I didn't have my glasses, and it's all right, bro, all right then, okay, yeah. But the Sunny stuff I actually liked. I liked the Sunny stuff. I'm with Naomi. It's okay, she Sunny's never gonna ask to go outside because maybe you've never exposed her to that. You've never given her another side of the coin to even comprehend. So of course she's not gonna ask for something she hasn't comprehended before in her life.
Right.
So yeah, I thought that too. But overall, interesting scene, definitely, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I definitely had the same thought as you, Kevin, of Otacon's history with romantic interests with people.
Yeah.
It's Sniper Wolf was very one-sided, and she never really did anything advancing towards him, and all the weird stuff with him and his sister and his mom in 2. So he has a very clear issue dealing with women, and I think Naomi showing an advancement to him is something that, at least on screen, we haven't seen anyone do to Otacon. So, like, I bought it that he slipped up and, like, he just fell for it because he's kind of a doofus. That doesn't change the fact that it is very stilted and weird and awkward. Again, I don't know if that was intentional, but yeah, it took up a way more of this briefing than I thought it would, though. So, because there's not much else that happens in the briefing. We get like a bit of more clarity on why Liquid wants the body of Big Boss.
Yeah.
I actually want to ask a question about that because I was kind of confused. Will Big Boss's genetic code let Liquid control the system? Is that pretty much why he wants it?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, follow-up question. Why?
So, no, because I also had a question about this, because I wrote down that Big Boss's DNA code is what unlocks or gives full access to, like, the overrides for the SOPs, I think.
Yeah.
Now,
is it because he started the Patriots and
yes.
we learned that later on?
Yes.
Okay.
But now I'm wondering, is this why they wanted Big Boss's body in Metal Gear Solid 1?
I think so, yeah. I think the as Omar pointed out very astutely, like last week or a couple weeks ago, the PowerPoint situation we get into later on in this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sort of explains that was the truer intentions of Liquid and Ocelot. Actually, probably more so Ocelot than Liquid in Metal Gear Solid 1, where
Right.
to like get his body and control SOP.
Right. And just like as players going through the series, SOP was nowhere near our minds in MGS1. It was just like, okay, they want the remains of Big Boss for some reason. Honestly, I didn't even really think about why too much when I was playing Metal Gear Solid 1 for the show. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, Omar, I don't know if you were thinking of something different, and I know you have reservations when they do like revisionist stuff for motivations in Metal Gear so far. So how is the Big Boss DNA override stuff hitting you in this briefing?
I honestly didn't even consider the fact about the Metal Gear Solid 1 link, but I definitely don't think Kojima thought about that when he was making Metal Gear Solid 1.
Yeah.
Which is funny. But I don't know. I think Big Boss has died like twice in the lore at this point, right?
In Metal Gear,
Like-
Metal Gear 2, I think.
Yeah, and now he's still alive here, like in this weird way.
Yes.
As a biomort,
Yeah, like what is that?
whatever that word means.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess I think I said this last week, but for me with this game is kind of just throwing the lore out of the window and just like enjoying the ride.
mhm.
So I'm eating it all up, I guess, at this point, just going with it.
Fair enough,
But,
yeah.
yeah.
Kevin, for you, hearing the stuff that Naomi's talking about Big Boss, she says, I think Naomi's the one that says Big Boss is still alive in this sequence. What was it
Yeah.
like for you learning that Big Boss is going to be a factor for Metal Gear Solid 4?
Oof. Yeah, that was yeah, and now that was like, okay, like I expected Metal Gear Solid 3 to justify itself in some shape, form, or fashion. Right? Like it to like some way, and then we get to, of course, the not main character, but like one of the big characters in MGS3 directly in this game, and then Big Boss himself as well. Like, I found it a little bit odd. I'm not gonna lie. When they first said that, I was like, okay, like this seems like, how is this even possible? And then like when you actually, I guess when they explain it, it's like, okay, I guess that checks out. Like, okay, I guess, technically speaking, Liquid and Solid Snake wouldn't be direct clones, right? And I guess that was kind of explained away in like a lot of different ways. And like, given that, they were birthed by another human and not a test tube, right? I guess that would kind of make sense that some of Eva's genetic material, kind of manifested in, what I'm saying? But like then like it's surrogate. So probably I just assumed that made sense, that like they weren't a direct clone of Big Boss, right? And like maybe it was like, maybe the reason why they're not direct clones is because they were birthed by an actual human mom, or maybe it's the difference in the clone coding that they put into their specific genes in terms of like, oh, they can't be copied necessarily. They have a short lifespan. So maybe like that's what makes them different and not a direct clone to Big Boss as well. Maybe that's more the answer, but
I think that's what Naomi was implying because there was a graphic that popped up on screen that looked like it was a bioscan of Liquid and Snake, and it said it was like it
was like 5%,
3% difference between their code and Big Boss's, which was chalked up to like the differences, and probably scientifically what you're saying as well. Like they had like the surrogate mother, and it was also grown in Eva, which we'll get to, but yeah, there's enough room for diversion there that they aren't full 1-to-1 Big Bosses, which, you know, in a series that's so strict about like the genes, the genetic code, if it has to be Big Bosses, then like it would make sense that they can't access it. So also, Liquid's not even all there. It's like that is mostly Ocelot DNA that you'd be trying to access with anyway, so that's probably a wash too. So one thing that kind of shook me in the briefing, though, I completely forgot Raiden was there. Dude was just knocked out, and then like 15 minutes and they're like, oh yeah, Raiden. And then
talking with his robot voice.
Yeah, and then Naomi like goes and like Googles cyborg remedies and then finds out that they have to go to Eastern Europe. But any other thoughts on the briefing before we dive into Act 3?
I found the white blood exclamation kind of interesting. Like, I guess it was a synthetic blood used by the military, but it needs to be like, I forgot the word they used. Like
oxidized.
Is it oxidized? Okay, we'll just go with that. We'll just go with that. Dialyzed sounds a little bit better. Yeah. Well, whatever that process is, was it like every?
I don't think they say a different. They just said it had to be.
Just once in a while, it has to be kind of cleaned, I guess. Yeah, filtered, I guess was the word. I thought that was, I guess, interesting. And then also Naomi looking at Raiden and having that tap X of Cyborg Ninja back in the first game. I thought that was really cool. And she's like, oh my God, they're still doing this like today. Like, I thought the way they are tying in MGS1 is like really cool. I'm still liking it a lot for sure. So very cool stuff.
I noted about the briefings that I wanted to throw out there. For some reason this week, like it kind of felt like they write and perform the briefings as like a weird stage play thing. It's really strange to me. Like that's the only vibe. Like there's so many angles you can view it at. It's these characters walking like in this very tight and closed area. It feels performative in a way that's like, and they're all saying these very dramatic things in like this very tiny room with like no music at all. Like, I don't know. It stood out to me more so this week, and like looking back on the other ones, it's like this definitely like it feels very different from the rest of the cutscenes in the rest of the game, and that's the connection I made at least. But are we still liking the briefings?
I like how it's like the sort of connective tissue in between acts, and it sets your expectations in certain ways where it's like, all right, this act is like officially over. Mm-hmm. I really like how MGS4 is split up that way. So yeah, this is the most bizarre one though, and it's probably my least favorite. But are you guys rolling around in the Mark II on the Nomad?
I tried that
a little bit.
There's some batteries you can find.
Oh,
does that like boost the Mark II in the field or something?
It's for like all of your equipment, so like your night vision goggles and stuff. So you can get some spare batteries if you run out.
That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I've honestly just been doing the screen where it just focuses on the actual cutscene and just paying as much attention to that as possible. You know, but that's cool though. That's cool.
Well,
yeah. Sorry, I'm not enjoying, or I didn't enjoy this one too much. I think you guys are right, like about the manipulating thing, but I still think some of it's uncomfortable. Like, I guess, like, all right, Naomi dragged Otacon into that helicopter. Sunny's right there. What happened? What happened?
Everyone's right there.
Dude,
Yeah, everyone's right
they
there.
just played a nice deck of cards, man. What's the problem?
I don't
know?
believe
They
you,
just-
Kevin. I think you know
they
exactly what happened in there.
Had a little candlelight, you know, playing some, you know, poker. It's all right, you know.
I wish that's what happened.
Play a little Uno, you know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
I think Otacon in this episode also does a funny like I used to be an anime fan, which was cool.
I wrote it down. Anime Okatu? I think
Otaku?
that's it. Otaku. Yeah. I was gonna ask about that if anyone would like to elaborate.
What otaku is?
Sure. Yeah.
I think
that
it's
too.
just like an anime. I think it's literally
Like
just
an
anime
enthusiast?
fan. Yeah, maybe he's like
Okay.
an anime fan. I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
They I think they talked about it in Metal Gear Solid 1 during Otacon's like introduction after he beat himself. And I think he just described his name as Otacon being a reference to an otaku convention in Japan. So he's just a fucking dork, essentially.
But Omar, you're right. I did love, again, that sort of like obliviousness that he has. Like, she's trying to be forward with him and stuff. Like, oh, I thought that was your girlfriend. And then he's like saying a couple things, and then he's like, I used to be an anime fan. Like,
Yeah, it looks like he's being straight up taken advantage of, and I know it's because she's like, you know, there's that USB stick Kojima keeps showing you, like, oh, she's got something going on, but it's just something about it, especially with the way she's like dressed. It's like, okay, come on, like, I get it.
Yeah.
And I will say that on the stage play thing, I think you're right. It totally does give off those vibes, but I think a lot of it is like, I don't know if it was intentional or not.
yeah,
Because
sure.
sometimes it just seems like awkward as hell. Like, Otacon is looking very uncomfortable at some of this, and you know, he's running around the room or just going like, like that's the noises they make sometimes, or like the hand gestures they'll make to take up the scene time. Like it feels like a lot of the times like Kojima doesn't know where to put the character, or whoever during the cutscenes like doesn't know where to put the characters. Unlike a codec call, which you know they're right there, two right there, no awkward running around. That's it.
So
I'm not actually saying codec calls are better, but like it's a bit of a weird turn, I guess.
one of the things I wanted to ask also, because I think we're all on the same page where the codec in 4 is better than it was in 3 by like a mile, but it's very strange that the only person we get on call is Otacon. Everybody else is just like a static image of a logo. Like when Jack called us last act, it was just an image. When Draven calls us, it's just his logo. Like, do you think they just didn't want to animate extra conversations or what? Because I do think that is a downside where I'm finding the codec in 4 not being utilized to its full potential, because I do think it's okay when they do use it. I like Otacon's calls, but I don't know if you guys feel differently.
I never really noticed, so you just brought it up, to be honest with you. So, yeah, there's
I
that,
kinda-
but
Yeah, I kind of think in general except for 2, I think the codec gets worse, like progressively worse in each Metal Gear game, and to the point where it really doesn't serve too much of a function in Metal Gear Solid 4. Like the select button isn't even the
That
codec
me
button
off.
anymore, which you can change. I did change. You can go to
Okay,
the options
cool.
and change it, but the fact that it's the control scheme front and center, you can eventually change it. But yeah, it's a little silly, and I don't even think you can punch in certain codec numbers anymore, unless I'm wrong. But yeah, even after like during boss fights, I'm trying to call people, and there's like maybe one useful thing that Otacon says, but I miss the sense of like having a party, in your codec that you can.
yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 1 had, I honestly think it probably had the best codec, just because everyone had a function, and if you wanted to call someone about a weapon, there was a weapons expert, and there was your main objective via Campbell, and everyone had a purpose, and
Yeah.
it just doesn't. That's just not. It doesn't exist anymore. Which they have cutscenes now, which is great, but I do love the codec, and I'm kind of sad it kind of gets worse.
Bring back Nastasha. But
Hell yeah.
She got referenced in something, right? Was that
I don't know.
Maybe that was like Metal Gear Solid 2 at this point, but I feel like she got
Probably.
referenced after the fact.
No, I think either you or Jack, I think last week or 2 weeks ago maybe, mentioned that if you call Otacon enough time, or Mei Ling is the one that.
Oh, that was Mei Ling.
Right?
Oh yeah.
But I think maybe Nastasha is the one who like wrote the article where like Snake was found on a tanker or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I
Like
think so.
something weird.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or she wrote a book on the Shadow Moses thing, I think, and Campbell was
Yeah.
like, "Don't read that trash."
Sorry. I watched the Game Informer documentary that you guys mentioned
nice.
about the recording of Metal Gear Solid 1. Campbell is the Vault Tech dude from Fallout 4, and like
Really?
his voice, he's like, this is what I usually sound like, and I'm like, whoa, you do not sound like Campbell. It's wild. He's a great performer apparently. I just thought that was his normal voice, and it's not. He goes deep for that one.
Yeah, it's a great Kevin. I also once we wrap up, you should definitely check that out because it's very, very interesting.
I have a list
Nice.
of things that I just don't want to watch anything. Obviously, I feel like it'd be very easily to get spoiled in anything. So
Sure.
There are spoilers for like future things that we'll get into. So that's
exactly. Yeah.
Well, why don't we dive into Act 3, Third Sun? Kevin, what do you think this title means? Because so far we've had, I think, Liquid Sun, Solid Sun. Now we have Third Sun.
I don't think too much into the titles. I think like I really don't. Like it's like, oh, okay, cool. Third Sun, third act. I'm assuming the Third Sun is assembling like.
Because I mean,
Big Boss isn't. I wouldn't call Big Boss one of the sons, even though it is a part of the trio, I guess you could say, of like Big Boss, Liquid, and Snake. But then there's Solidus gets name dropped there, so like is Solidus the Third Son? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So there is that, but I didn't think too much into it for sure.
Fair enough. Now, Jack, what do you think of this introduction? Because this was your first Metal Gear. I know it was Omar's also. So seeing this introduction with the little bait and switch, right? Of you see young Snake, what he would probably look like on the PS3, show up here for the sequence. What's it like revisiting that?
So in sort of a direct comment of what you just mentioned, I did like how they showed like, hey, this is what the character model would look like.
Yeah.
So I did, on that level, I did appreciate that. But on the level of Campbell, speaking to you and introducing the act that you're about to play through, just gave me Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2 vibes, and I just sort of love listening to him sort of give you the rundown of what you can expect in the act. It really got me into the mood to play through this act. I think the introduction is a little bit better than the gameplay section we're about to get to, so it sort of hyped it up a little bit more than what we actually get into. But yeah, I think the introduction to this is pretty cool. There's some awkwardness with Snake not going through the metal detector or whatever, or the SOP detector, whatever it is. But other than that, I think it's cool. Yeah.
Or did you immediately try to switch to young Snake with bandana?
Yes.
Me too.
Do you think Snake would look like that? I feel like every time I see that Snake, I'm like, is that Snake?
Yeah, I'm really glad Omar brought it up. I don't like the way young Snake looks in this game. I don't know. There's something's wrong. I can't put my if you like squint, okay, that is our boy young Snake, but I don't know. Yeah, there's something wrong with it for sure.
It's the beard.
I think it is the beard. I think it might be the beard.
I honestly think it also might be the bandana. Like with the bandana on, I'd probably have less of an issue because I just don't like seeing his forehead.
Yeah.
So
good point.
But Kevin, seeing the introduction here, meeting up with Meryl again.
Indeed.
Getting our new directive. Meryl and Snake sort of having some friction about who is being smarter going into this war zone. Once again, it's setting up a scenario where there are two opposing forces. So safe to say that's a trend for this game now, and I know you were pretty positive on that for the first two acts. Hearing that was going to be the setup for this act also, was that a disappointment, or was that more excitement that you get to like play both sides again?
No, it was definitely more excitement just because like just that conversation with, you know, Snake and Meryl, like I feel like it was, I mean, granted there was a long conversation that they had in the first act as well. But I feel like this one was a little bit more like, you know, gloves off. Meryl straight up says like, "Hey, I know I once loved you, but like, you know, that's not how it is anymore." And like that was said, but like I feel like it's a little bit different when it's just them two at this table, you know. And I liked, you know, Meryl kind of standing up for herself in a way of like, "Hey, like I'm not the, you know, very green girl you met, you know, in Metal Gear Solid 1. You know, like I have a unit. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm capable of, and I know the mission, and I just don't think that your, you know, approach is going to be successful. So I'm going to do my thing. Don't step on my toes." And like it's rare, I feel like, we see someone like talk to Snake like that. And I think the only person that could do it is Meryl. So I actually really like this because of that kind of like tension that there is there, and like Snake kind of just takes it, and like I like that Snake takes it and doesn't really like combat it, because I think deep down like he knows in the way that like Meryl is like she's able to, you know, clap back at him in that manner, you know, that I liked a lot. So I really like this scene. Yeah, it definitely worked for me.
Did you like, Omar, Snake repeating the "I'm not a hero, never was" a line again?
That is the best line of Metal Gear Solid, probably, is "I'm not a hero, I never was, just an old killer, hard to do some work." That is the best. That was like in all the trailers, I think, for this game or something. Right. But that has always stuck with me. I don't even think I considered the fact that Snake was just a hitman here until like this. But yeah, it's a grim setup for a game.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that line and that sentiment sort of, for you with old Snake and like that idea, does that make him feel more like his own character, or more like the Snake we know that's just fallen into this part of his life?
I think it feels like, I think it's still very much Solid Snake, right? It's just he has fallen into that part. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I really don't understand why Kojima made Snake this old, other than maybe for this like finale thing. Mm-hmm. Like it's a weird thing to do. Like it was, I don't know where it came from, but I do kind of love it. It's ambitious and just bizarre.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because like I wonder if it's just like talking about that finality, right? Like Liquid exists in like what, like a close to 70-year-old man at this point. So if this is the legacy of Big Boss, this game, it would be weird if maybe his two sons are, one is pushing 75 maybe, and the other one is 40. So like maybe it was that, maybe he just wanted to make like his version of that old, what was the Clint Eastwood Western that one?
Gran Torino. Oh, Unforgivable? Yeah. Okay.
Did he just want to make it like his version of that? Like, is this his Logan, essentially?
I was just thinking Logan when Omar was describing all that. Yeah.
I think it is probably like a lot of like Kojima just liking this idea of old people getting close to that age and going crazy.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
as well.
I think it's working, and I think you know Snake's attitude, especially at the beginning of this act, I think helps that feel warranted. You know.
I will say, I feel like I don't think David Hayter's performance is like, it doesn't sound like Snake as if he was older. Like it sounds like Snake that smoked too many cigarettes, which is fine too. Mm-hmm. But
I mean, it's kind of the same, low key, right? I mean,
is that what happens when you get old?
I mean, if you're like a smoker your whole life, right? I mean, granted, sure. I don't know.
I don't like, think. I think you have a different voice. Maybe I said it too wrong, but like I think like if I had talked to an elderly person who smoked too long, I think they might have a different voice than that. I don't know, but
maybe. Yeah.
It's not like I hate it. It sounds like you hear him break sometimes, and it's like, okay. It's fun.
Would it be
What?
better if he was doing the snake gravelly voice, but just a lot slower? Like longer pauses, longer words, longer like phrases. Because like I think that's the thing that would probably make the old man thing make more sense. Because like the suit helps his body maintain his ability of like super soldier basically, but he can't help his voice or his brain. So like maybe that would have sold it better instead of just the I smoked a lot sort of thing. But
Maybe.
yeah,
I don't know. It's every time he says like Meryl. It sounds a bit weird. That's really it. I don't know why people shit on the Batman Bale voice and not this.
do you like this as Snake as a like performance of Snake more than his Naked Snake or no?
I guess so. I guess I do.
Okay.
I do.
Jack, we're gonna throw something in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like I'm sort of on the opposite spectrum. I feel like this might be my favorite Snake performance. I just love the sense of. I love how Solid Snake is always someone who tries to do the right thing, even if he's in over his head like he was in Metal Gear Solid 1. And you get the sense of like a severe sense of sadness throughout this whole game, through David Hayter's performance, and he sort of resigned to the fact of he only has especially now after the conversation with Naomi, like he only has a set amount of time to try to tie up all these loose ends. And I really like David Hayter's performance in this. I think Naked Snake was just not. I don't think that was a very good performance for him. I know it was a different character, but it's very stilted, and I didn't feel through his performance I really cared about the character as much as I did Solid Snake in 1 and 2. And I think this is a great rebound for David Hayter, and this might be one of my favorite by him. Either this or, honestly, 1 and 2 are really good too, so this might be my favorite by him.
Because I think in the case of Solid Snake, it definitely he has a big character shift here, where before he was, like you said, like hopeful, idealistic. He believed that the right thing can happen, and here he's just like he's tired. He's very cynical. He's like, I'll try, but probably not going to work out. And we see where his efforts will end up at the end of this act. But
Yeah, like it's like little things of like, him saying, "Oh, like what's one more smoke gonna do really to me in the long run," and it's like, damn, like there is a bit of like a melancholic type of like vibe to him in this game that I actually like a lot. I just find it really interesting, like seeing a Snake that I don't think we've definitely never seen before. Like just him being so like helpless towards himself in a way, a little bit, just kind of like, just okay, I'm just doing this mission, yeah, like I care about what's going on, I don't want any harm to happen or whatever, like, but there's like a little bit of like, I feel an angle of like, I just want to just kind of just lay down and die. Like I sometimes get that vibe off him that like I think is really interesting, for sure.
Yeah, well, he can't lay down and die just yet, because first things first, we gotta do some Assassin's Creed style tracking of our target, a resistance fighter in the streets of Eastern Europe. We got our disguise. For funsies, I equipped this the octo camo suit to see what Snake would look like. I wanted to use the headband, but I could not. He looked cool. Looked cool seeing him in that stealth suit with the blue harness and young Snake's face, but couldn't complete it. I'll try it again next week. But
Wait, did you complete it with the camo and not the suit, not the jacket?
I did for like 5 minutes just to get the feel, but I put the jacket back on, and for me this was pretty simple. I didn't really face much issue here. I don't know, Jack, you're nodding along. It seems like you probably had a similar experience.
Yeah, this I think is overall. I think it's probably my least favorite act. I don't like despise it by any means, but it's definitely lacking in the gameplay department. You essentially just follow one dude, or at least that's how I did it, and he'll run across some PMC members who you can pretty easily trank, and then you just keep following them, and you do that for about 30 minutes or however long it takes. and there you are. That's pretty much all you do. And then you fight a raven, and then you go on a motorcycle. That's what you do in this act. So, not my favorite. It's not very engaging, but I like being in Europe. I think that was a cool little place to go to. I wish it was utilized a little bit better, but yeah, pretty simple, like what you said.
Yeah. I would have loved if like this game was on like PS4, right? Where, you know, we could have like big crowds and like NPCs like all in the plaza, whatever. Like, and I guess they explain away they're under some sort of lockdown.
Yeah.
Not sure why. I don't think they ever explained that, but like, okay, everyone's under lockdown except there's one spy and then a bunch of PMC agents. Like, okay, all right.
So
I guess that checks out. I don't know.
I think they said they're in a state of emergency because the resistance rebellion group, they're trying to like weed them out, and the PMC that's I think working with the government for this location is trying to shut down the resistance fighters. So they want. So the state of emergency would be like, okay, nobody's going to be in the way, nobody's going to interfere. So if people are out, they're probably with the resistance, so we can take them out.
Gotcha.
I think that was what Meryl was saying. And I think Otacon called Snake right when he got out too, and that's when we learned that Naomi and Sunny brought Raiden to the doctor in the local area. But because I think the location they were at, they said Otacon said it wasn't a war zone, so there were no checkpoints and they could move around fine. So here is where there was a bit of that side versus side. And what was interesting too was on my way through sneaking, I don't know if anybody else noticed this, like you could take cover in like those alcoves in the entrances to buildings, and you could like hear people inside the buildings because they were on lockdown. I thought that was neat.
I know that.
Omar, how did you fare in this tracking sequence?
I lost the guy a couple times because I think they saw me because I was trying to take out some of the PMCs, and then they ran back to that like resistance thing, and then I couldn't find out how to find them again, so I reloaded to save a couple times. Otherwise, fine. I thought that scene where he pees was kind of funny, and I was a little upset actually in the moment. I was like, all right, I get it. People need to pee.
Oh, I remember. Right, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna explode, and he takes
I don't know if I got that.
You didn't? Okay. He's got the steamiest piss you'll ever see on PS3.
Wow.
Guarantee it.
Graphics.
Yep.
It was funny.
So a night in Prague. What's up?
That caught me off guard. Because I was just tracking this dude, pretty much no issue the entire time. And then all of a sudden he stops under a streetlight, then turns around, sprints at me. I was like, oh shit, did I do something? So I hide, and he starts pissing. And I think he said, oh, he's like, now that's cutting it close.
Yeah.
What?
It was
Some
weird.
great AI conversations.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I had a pretty cool journey with this. So, I kept tranking PMCs, and then somehow I was being seen by our resistance fella. So I never really backtracked. I just kind of kept moving forward. I just kept moving forward using the radio, and it would spawn like a new portion of the map. Like, hey, there's someone in here, right? So then I went, but there was maybe like 10 minutes. I was like, damn, like I'm not seeing this this guy who's supposed to be I'm supposed to be, you know, tracking or whatever. Then I kept hearing the whistling, and it turns out the whistling came from one of the PMC soldiers. This resistance fighter was imitating a PMC soldier. I was like, okay, my boy. Okay, you clever. Okay. And then there was one part in the stream that was very tense. I got spotted. I hid around the corner, but then this agent that I'm supposed to follow like came around the corner and like walked right past me, very tense, but I was not spotted. Killed the game out there. Ultimate stealth levels, you know what I'm saying? I'm out here. Ultimate gamer. And then we just went through that. So there was some cool moments on my journey for sure. But yeah, like it definitely wasn't like the most engaging part. Even chat was like, Kev, like trust me, it gets way better later on in this act. Like this is just like a one part thing where it's not that great. of a section, but I didn't find it at least like too horrible. Like it wasn't like, escorting Eva through a forest, and she's walking at like half a mile an hour,
Right.
So at least it wasn't that. So it was good. It was all right.
You mentioned whistling. Did you recognize the tune?
It was the theme, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Like specifically, it was the same thing that Sunny was doing, like the same
Yeah.
off-key thing. So I didn't know if that was just like for fun or if there was something there, but I did notice that.
Is it off key because the original is copyrighted?
I think so. They had to change
Smart.
like a couple notes because the
That's
original
smart.
one was plagiarized.
Smart. That's
So
smart. Some big brain stuff.
I forgot to mention, but I did use the Octo Camo during this
Okay.
instead of the jacket. I think that helped or made it easier to not get spotted. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I was confused why they even give you the jacket because almost immediately I was like, well, I'm just gonna switch to the Octo Camo because it's just way easier to hide that way. And there were certain points where there was like a truck patrolling, and I put the Octo Camo and the Octo Camo like mask on, so it was like a 100% camo, and they would drive like right next to me, and I would just go next to a building and do it. So I was like, why would I even wear this jacket? Like I'm just hiding way more easily.
It looks
I use
cool.
the jacket. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I use it because like I just thought it was such a cool prospect of like
Yeah.
Solid Snake in this like coat, and he's sneaking around in Europe. But like that is something that we've never seen before, in the series. So I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Like that. This is a cool instance that we find Snake in for sure.
I think it's supposed to like reference like his game Snatcher. I think the guy there has the same jacket and stuff.
Interesting.
The main character, yeah. One other thing I needed to mention: did you notice anyone following you in this segment?
No, I
Oh,
don't think so.
I would see people
No.
peek around corners.
Yeah, cool.
Really?
Yeah.
It kind of scared me. Like I was like, oh, am I gonna like walk? Because they would be in front of me sometimes. I would have like the night vision goggles on, and I would see them pop out, and I was like, oh, am I gonna alert them? And they would just be gone.
They had the fedora and stuff, right?
I think so.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
Huh.
is there
I did
anything
not
to
know
that?
Yeah, we saw
Yeah.
this guy later on. It's that robot.
Oh, it's the
Oh, yeah.
robot thing.
They've been following me the whole time. Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's really cool. Okay.
That's neat.
Yeah, I have to wonder if this sequence would have, if it truly is just underwhelming because of limitations, or if maybe it's more engaging on the higher difficulty, because it seems like we all coasted through this no problem. I got caught once, and it was because the truck turned a corner and I was kind of naked, but yeah.
The drum
Yeah.
can was OP during this, I think, as well, which I was surprised at because I thought it wouldn't like look right in this environment, but I used it a few times to hide from the moving vehicles, and it worked out pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah. I still think it would have been like really cool to have like a big crowd and everything and all that, but PS3, I get it, whatever. But I think it would have been cool to have Snake blending in, and doing a stealth thing like in a massive crowd and like tracking someone. I think that would have been really cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, once we get to our destination, we have lore dump. We got big cutscenes. We got multiple PowerPoints.
Yes, sir.
As always, I will ask the panel, do you want me to run through it, or do we want to talk about it beat by beat? Because there's a lot here.
Let's do chunk by chunk. How about
Okay.
you guys?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
It's too much, dude. It's too much
Take
going
it
on
slow.
here.
Did you write notes on all this, Christian?
I did.
I have
You
some-
guys all write notes?
I have some notes.
A little
yeah.
bit.
Okay,
I
I
have-
should write notes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just sitting there like, what?
No, Omar, it was this section that I'm like, I'm not gonna remember like half of this. I really need to. I really need to write it down. Yeah.
Cool.
So, I guess first question before we get into this, Kevin, when did you realize that it was Eva?
A while in.
Okay.
It was like a while. It was like when they were showing MGS3. I'm like, wait a minute, wait, is that? No, like there's no shot.
Did you
And then
look
it
up plus,
was.
You're like,
Yeah. Like I forgot which line clicked. I was like, oh my god, Big Mama's Eva. Like what?
Mhm.
Yeah. It was a bit of a while before I actually even that and Zero as well. I don't know why I had a hard time remembering Zero, but I think it was the whole name thing and everything, and how he had a name change and all that. But yeah, it took me a while to discern those two, but then it becomes very apparent later on. Like, oh, okay, gotcha, Eva. and Zero. Right.
So, Big Mama is revealed in this church that has holy images of Metal Gear Solid 3 promo art and stuff on the walls, which I think is hilarious. So, Big Mama is David's mother, also Liquid's mother, because for the Les Enfants Terribles project, they used Big Boss's DNA and planted it in an egg from a donor of a woman who I believe for some reason it was their way to explain why Raven said Snake had blood from the east.
Yeah, it was a Japanese woman.
Okay.
Who donated her eggs, and then Eva is the surrogate mother, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Eva loved Big Boss despite their tumultuous history. There's a lot that happened between 3 and where we are now. So she was like, she's like, I'll do it. I'll make the sacrifice. I'll be the one that grows these children. And the reason for that was because after what happened in MGS3's ending, she went to China with the fake Philosopher's Legacy. She was exiled because she failed them. Eventually found her way back to the States, where at the time, Major Zero recruited Sigint, Paramedic, and Big Boss to form the Patriots that would be trying to fulfill the dreams and the worldviews of the boss.
Right.
Eva was brought in, and eventually, not immediately, like time passed, and then they decided to do the project for the twins, but why don't we start there? Zero is the founder of the Patriots, as we've been hearing them referenced since MGS2. Zero and the members of the Patriots that were kind of all presumed dead because of weird cover-ups in MGS2 turned out to be the cast of Metal Gear Solid 3. They were the Patriots. The Wise Men are kind of a separate thing. That was the Philosophers from 3. And what do we think of this here? So 3 matters, apparently. 3's ending actually tees up 4, and I completely forgot about that. So Omar returning, I guess, seeing this after 3, what was it like getting this refresher on the Patriots and its relation to Snake Eater?
I think 3's cast is pretty bland.
Yeah.
Right. And I think this is a pretty interesting route to go to tie it all in together, because you play Metal Gear Solid 2, the Patriots sound so scary. They're like, oh, what the fuck? They're like, we are formless, what? And then you play this one, and it's like, oh, you're made by you're all just the bland cast from the 3rd game, which is okay. Mm-hmm. Fine. It feels a lot of the Kojima trying to wrap everything together neatly in a way, but it doesn't feel too neat to me. I don't know.
I definitely think it's a little interesting, and like I said, I forgot that was the case, so I was like, oh, neat. But I bet they wanted it to be more than that, and I think you're right. Probably if they were more interesting characters, I'd have more of a reaction than like, oh, that's quaint, like Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Omar.
If you had liked that cast as much as Metal Gear Solid 1, right, like that would probably have been a way bigger deal, I think.
Yeah, like right now it's just like, oh, cool. They were relevant, Jack returning also, and I think you were the one who was the most positive on Snake Eater. Seeing what's up here, seeing the explanation for the Patriots as they've been this looming presence, is it satisfying coming back to it?
No. I think Omar nailed it because, like what he said, it's just very bland cast of characters, and even to the point of you could go the whole game and talk to Sigint like once, and he's the fucking DARPA chief apparently for Metal Gear Solid 1.
That got a bigger reaction out of me than the fact that they were the Patriots. I was like, he was the DARPA chief!
Yeah, so it's funny because I feel like the majority of Metal Gear fans who like Metal Gear Solid 3, which is the majority of Metal Gear fans, I would say at this point, as far as I'm aware, are probably like, "This is great. These are all my favorite characters in the series." And I was thinking the four of us are like, "Ugh, this is not hitting. This is not hitting." And yeah, I really just don't care because I didn't care about really any of the characters, maybe except for Boss. By the end of Metal Gear Solid 3, and I think Zero leading the charge was baffling to me because he was, and most of the characters in your codec were kind of nothing characters in a way, and I didn't get the sense that Zero had any sort of grand ambitions, in a way that Campbell was definitely very shady in Metal Gear Solid 1, and you felt like you couldn't really trust him completely. In Zero, like I didn't really feel any tensions with him or any sense that he had any opportunities to sort of expand and do that. It felt very off-putting that they were like, "Yep, Zero is like head honcho of the Patriots." And it's like, okay, I talked to that guy a little bit. He liked James Bond. That's really all I know about this dude. So it's very strange.
Yeah, because at the end of Snake Eater, is Zero the one who says like, "You're"? No, it's not Zero. That's like, "You're big boss." That's the president, no. I think.
So I kept thinking about this. The president is Sully.
Yes.
That dude from Uncharted. That dude who said, "You're big boss." I don't think so. I think he's LBJ.
Am I wrong? Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so that dude was maybe the head of the CIA.
Okay.
Or someone else who said, "You're big boss."
Right, but Zero said something. Did Zero say like we should reinstate Foxhound or something like that?
I don't know. Someone was like, "We can use this dude in our sneaking missions," but that wasn't Zero.
Right.
No, there's stuff at the end of Metal Gear Solid 3 that about the lore, right? Where it's like Foxhound disbands. Fox disbands and then Foxhound.
Yeah, because
Zero starts Foxhound.
I thought.
Yeah.
Well, at least here it's that Big Boss is the one who started Foxhound.
Oh,
okay.
So I thought it was if it's lining up properly, it should, I think, in 3 at that text wall of timelines say that Big Boss came back and created Foxhound. But yeah, headcanon for a second, I think it would be funny if Zero got a taste of the James Bond mission life in Snake Eater, and he's like, "Oh, I can make a career out of this," and then just traded the Patriots because he just liked that feeling. But Kevin, you're experiencing this all for the first time. How did that reveal hit you?
Yeah, like it was a lot because like I don't know, like I never thought that we'd actually get a clear explanation as to who the Patriots were. I always thought they would like remain this like mystique, just entity, and you were supposed to view them as just a collective, as the Patriots, not necessarily know who they were as like names and everything and faces to attach to them. Right? I thought it was just gonna be like a Illuminati-esque type of deal. And then they pull off the veil, and it's just like, all right, well, I don't really care about these characters that much either. So it's like, and like, yeah, like I feel like I should have had a reaction, but it's like, oh, okay, it's just Joe Schmo and like who knows whatever Tifa is. You know what I'm saying? Why I say Tifa, Tiffany or whatever. Just these random people that I don't know. Like I know, like that. That sounds harsh. I get a lot of Twitter hate for hating on MGS3, but like, I don't know. It's just like like they aren't interesting. Like I'm sorry, I can't like. I'm sorry. Like I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, like it was a little bit of like okay, all right. I guess now they're a little bit more interesting that they are the roots of the Patriots and that's where they eventually go on to form. Like, okay, we'll see how this goes, but yeah, it was not really like did not have like a oh shit what moment at all. Yeah.
How did you react to the DARPA chief reveal that it was Sigint?
I don't even think I fully comprehended that, to be honest. Okay. Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I was like, wait, he's what? And I was like, wait, he's what now? And then, yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, I wish. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to follow, and like you guys see me like I'm trying to pay attention. Like I just feel like I'm just like barely like chugging that thread sometimes when they give a big dump of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Kevin,
probably a me thing. I don't know.
No.
Like maybe
It's
it's a me
yeah.
thing. I don't know. But like sometimes it's like, wait, who? Wait, I know the
Yeah,
name.
I mean,
I feel like I should know you, but yeah.
it sounds like from Omar and Jack, you're not alone. I mean, I played this morning and I was taking copious notes, so don't think that like I understand all of it. I just was trying to be the host role, and I was like, okay, I gotta pause, write this down.
Right.
I've come to the conclusion that, and this isn't just a Metal Gear Solid 4 thing, but they definitely double down on it in Metal Gear Solid 4. But the PowerPoint presentations, I just think is a really terrible storytelling device, and it just makes things way more convoluted. They backtrack on certain things, and they're like, no, it wasn't this. It's actually this. And like, I don't know. I feel like they use it in a lot of ways to like sort of catch the audience up and the characters, of course, with what's going on. And this, it felt like Eva was reading the Wikipedia plot summary of a video game that doesn't exist. And because this felt like if this should have been probably the sequel to Metal Gear Solid 3, and she's like, all right, well, this is what happens. And you're getting all these like motivations for characters that are completely out of the realm of believability in a lot of ways, and you just sort of have to go with it. And I just don't think it's a very convincing way of telling a story, and it's very bothersome to me at this point. But I don't know. I guess I'm on board. It's just not a good way of conveying information to the audience, I think.
Especially like this one has such big reveals too that like should be exciting probably, but they're just dumped out. Like I don't know.
I honestly, I think that I mean, Jack, you nailed it. Of like, it's the recap of a game that doesn't exist. So like, I wonder if, you know, we all have our issues with the majority of Snake Eater, and the reason it tells the story it tells. Maybe think of this question as I go through the next chunk. But do we think it would have been a more interesting game if our big boss origins story, or whatever it was about the founding of the Patriots and not how he got the title of Big Boss? Think on that. I'll run through the next chunk. So, Zero had big ambition for the Patriots. Zero wanted to use it to centralize American morals after the Cold War, and he thought that's what Boss's, you know, outlook on the world of unification and all that stuff would take to realize. Where, you know, we know Naked Snake, Big Boss viewed it differently, and there was tension there. But Zero, since he was the commander, wanted to use Big Boss as an idol. He made Big Boss, the legacy of Big Boss, known to the world, made him a very well-known military man, well-known mercenary, big soldier for the world to rally behind after the Cold War. Basically to give the Patriots some grasp on the world through propaganda on that level. And there was friction there between the two of them, and Zero saw the opportunity. He was like, okay, probably had a meeting with paramedic, and was like, okay, so just in case, we this plan we got going on with the propaganda for Big Boss is going super well. He has an expiration date. Let's clone him. Les Enfants comes in. Eva, this is where she says, like, I'll do this. Unfortunately, Big Boss did not know about this. Big Boss left because he just wanted to abandon these children. He did not want this. He was not signed up for this. Seems like it was done without his permission. And that was the driving force that caused him to leave the Patriots, the United States, become a roaming mercenary for the world, creating his own private military. And that's sort of how he lived out his life for a good while. Now, Jack, I don't know if you heard the question that I wanted to throw out there.
I did.
Okay. Do we think that would have been a better Big Boss game instead of Snake Eater? Kevin, since you're fresh here, do you think that would have been a better experience for a story?
I think that they could have done both. I think that there could have been a way that you could have, tackled the origin of Big Boss in the same vein as explaining in a more straightforward manner a little bit, the formation of the Patriots, right? Like I think you could have struck a balance of both. But yeah, no, like I definitely feel like I think we needed a little bit more of like some signals that like, hey, the Patriots, the like conception of the Patriots are somehow tied to Metal Gear Solid 3 in Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know how you do that like in a way that still retains the MGS4 shock and awe. Maybe you just don't have that shock and awe and just do it in MGS3, right? And like maybe I guess the very very end cutscene or audio bit is like kind of alluding to that in a way.
It's like a lot
but
of things,
it's not too on the nose. And like I know he doesn't want to be on the nose, but like you can be like on the mouth, like a little bit close, to the nose, maybe like the cheek, but
'cause like
forehead,
I think when we talked about the ending soundbite, we kind of guided you to the idea that Ocelot this whole time was operating, with the CIA and eventually became part of the Patriots. Like that was, you got to do some reaching there,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's very much
definitely,
not conveyed. So,
but I love everything else that they like. Once we get past the like, okay, the Patriots like origins and all that, and like how it's tied to MGS3. Once we get beyond that, this whole narrative of like, Big Boss not knowing that he was being cloned, understandably being mad about it, and being like, "What the fuck is this?" Like, 100%. I'd be like, "Yo, what is this?" Yeah, and if like he didn't know, like that's wild, for sure. And I love the prospect of him like breaking off and doing this like roaming mercenary thing. I would love to know more about that and see more about that. That sounds really intriguing for sure. But yeah, like I thought everything else beyond the Patriot stuff, and specifically about Big Boss and Snake and Liquid, that whole aspect I thought was super intriguing and super cool.
sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear a same question for Omar and Jack, but with the addition of, I guess, very, very vague future check-in. Do you guys eventually like Big Boss, and do you think getting this story told after 3 would have gotten you to like Big Boss either at all or faster? Omar, we can start with you. I feel like you have more of a disdain for Naked Snake.
Sure. I think the thing here though is like about your question about like a game about this founding of the Patriots. Like, so far Kojima games aren't really about like, or I don't even know how you'd really structure that game compared to what he's been making so far at this point, right? Where it's like, here is a scenario of an agent doing a job. Like, how would you frame a game about the founding of the Patriots like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it would be sort of an evolution of Snake Eater. Maybe you just have Big Boss running these missions that made him this legendary mercenary in the eyes of the world,
Sure, I can see that. What were we talking about? Sorry, I just forgot.
Well, do you like Big Boss ever at any point?
Yeah, I think I eventually want to run Big Boss. I think he's a cool guy.
Yeah,
but
I'm the same boat. I eventually really, really like Big Boss a lot, and I think he's pretty sick. And I think hearing about his story here made me excited to see more from him, because I'm like, oh yeah, I do like Big Boss, but like, I don't know. Jack, do you think that turning this story into a game before MGS4 would have either worked for you to develop Big Boss in your own eyes as a fan and have this reveal have more payoff maybe?
Probably. They'd have to structure this scene a little bit differently, because it is them just sort of explaining that this is what happened. But yeah, I don't know if this could have been incorporated into Metal Gear Solid 3, because I think that story is more focused on Big Boss's relationship with the boss, but I do think it would have been really interesting to explore Zero and Big Boss's different interpretations of what the boss actually wanted, because that's sort of what this cutscene gets into, and that sort of drove a wedge between them, and I think that would have been really interesting to explore as its own game. That's a really good point that Omar made, because it probably would have been structured very differently than what we're used to, but I think this game's pretty differently structured than the previous Metal Gear games, so I think it could have been possible. But to your question about whether I like Big Boss eventually, I actually don't know. I don't know if I've really ever rendered an opinion on Big Boss as a character. I guess I'll say after Metal Gear Solid 3, I began to warm up to him once he realizes the story of Boss, but that's literally at the end of the game, so I don't really... And throughout the whole game, I pretty much despised him in a lot of ways. So I don't know if I really ever warm up to Big Boss. That's... I don't know. I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's an interesting question. I guess I never really thought about it.
Yeah, like I like what the title of Big Boss is supposed to be. I find that intriguing as hell. The actual person I find to not be that interesting at all. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the problem, where it's like, hey, maybe Zero had a point. Maybe Big Boss should just be a title, and you really shouldn't probably know him as a person, because maybe he's not that interesting. You know what I'm saying? But I'm with Jack in terms of I love the aspect of like this question of, you know, interpretation of like what the boss meant, you know, and like how Big Boss and Zero take that in very different ways, and like I want to say, you know what, yeah, fuck it. Eva like calls, you know, and says that like they almost had their own like contained Cold War amongst themselves of like fighting over the interpretation of the boss. Like I found that aspect really, really cool as well. Yeah. There's a lot of good in here. It's just past the Patriot stuff for me personally, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, and I think it sounds like we're all at least interested in the concepts they're throwing out here for Big Boss, and like hearing this from memory, we only get better with Big Boss. So like I think maybe just the execution of Big Boss in 3 was just kind of shit, and I'm with you, Jack. Like at the end, I'm like, okay, I see something here. I see like seeds, but he feels so vanilla and dumb and stupid for the entirety of that game. But hearing this and like hearing the repercussions of everything, his relationship with the boss, and what we're about to get to with the aftermath of that, and like what Kevin said of like the Cold War between Zero and Big Boss, all that stuff sounds so interesting and really fleshes out Big Boss to be this really complex, could be really cool character. It's just so far the execution on that has been in 2 NES games and in a game where Naked Snake just sucks. So we'll see what happens moving forward. But go ahead, Omar.
On this PowerPoint thing, I feel like, do you think, I think we said during Metal Gear Solid 2 sometimes, like, it feels like Kojima had this plan for this whole series, like, 40 years in his head. Or, like, it feels like he was kind of masterfully guiding it. But this one, does it feel like he's cramming them all together? Like,
slightly,
just to, yeah, because like, I feel like the Metal Gear Solid 3 stuff wasn't intended, like, when he was making that, it doesn't feel like it was going down this path. Like,
what do you mean by that? Like
it feels like, well, that game in general, like playing that, like we were talking about, like playing that game doesn't feel like it was meant to exist in the greater narrative in the way that it does now. Like
with the way that 4 frames it, or like within the
with the way 4
community?
frames it with the Patriots and all that, and like just like the fact that the cast is kind of simple and there's less dialogue in that game generally, like, or what it feels like it kind of just feels like it gets all tied together in this one scene.
Yeah,
it feels kind of ham-fisted.
I think you have a point there, and part of it I could see maybe a justification in that it feels like, looking back on Snake Eater, it feels like the entire game is a prequel to the last 10 minutes of that game, in a weird way, of like following up the end of that game, I could see a world where there's this complex relationship between these characters. I just kind of hate that we never got to see that, but I think there's enough wiggle room there, and the details on MGS1 or Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 are so hazy and up for interpretation that I think there's enough room to make that, but we talk about it all the time, right? Like, this is always supposed to be the last one. I think ending on 3, you could leave that with a clean ending of like, and then it all connected in the future, for sure. So, Jack.
It was the loop, right? It's how, but it's how like they explained who Big Boss was in Metal Gear 1. Like, definitely seemed like that might have been like the finale.
Sure.
But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Do you feel differently, Jack, about that?
No, I think Omar. I agree in part with what he was saying. It feels like a puzzle piece that like, or a puzzle set that like it does fit, but you really got to cram those puzzle pieces in there to fit. Doesn't feel like it was designed all that well, but eventually you get the full picture, I suppose. But like, it really feels like the party from Metal Gear Solid 3 was assigned roles in this sort of Patriot scheme that feels disingenuous to what the characters actually were. Maybe it's because those characters were at like nothing characters, and like I guess Paramedic is the person who helped deliver Solid and Liquid. Sure. I guess Sigint goes on to be the DARPA chief. Sure. I guess Zero and Big Boss had all these tensions that weren't explored at all in Metal Gear Solid 3. Fine. Like, it's just... I feel like it's a really big leap of logic. I guess it makes sense at the very end. You get the explanation that, like, Eva, Ocelot, and Naomi all wanted to, like, free Big Boss, and that they were going after... That's why they were going after his body in Metal Gear Solid 1. So, yeah, sure. I guess it ties things together. But yeah, it's kind of a stretch. It's a pretty big stretch.
And I think you put it perfectly when you said it's summarizing a game that doesn't exist, right? Because I think very easily you could make those connections, because I think those connections post 3 would make sense if we got to see it play out, and it would be believable because you have another chance to characterize these pretty vanilla cast members, right? And then like if you have that vision for this story and you tell that through maybe like a 10-hour game, I don't know, like I think it's a consequence. And I think what you and Omar brought up a lot about the PowerPoint stuff for this game is like, it's just all of the issues with the PowerPoint method coming to a head here, where it's like, this stuff is so important, it feels like it should be like, why are we here? And Omar, I think you bring up that it feels like, I don't know if you said it feels like it was rushed, but it feels like we just wanted to wrap it up here. Definitely comes across that way. So, oh, go ahead.
One last thing on Sigint and the DARPA chief. Was he the DARPA chief or Decoy Octopus?
Yeah, I think he was the DARPA chief, and
okay,
the one that died like a week ago.
Okay, so Decoy Octopus is someone else?
Yeah, Decoy Octopus is a member of Foxhound that was impersonating Donald Anderson, the DARPA chief.
And he died from Foxdie.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There's one last chunk to this whole section of PowerPoint talk, and it is how we got to where we are today. So, when Big Boss left, they had the clones. They couldn't really do much with them at the time. So Zero was like, I can't trust a soul. I will not pass this off to the next generation, so I'm going to invest in AI. This man who's like pushing 80 right now, he's like, the AI is the answer to my problems.
Had a great conversation with Bill Gates, and was like, yeah, this is the future.
Yeah. So he worked with somebody to create 4 AIs that would replicate his view on the boss's future, which is what culminated in the events of 4, the proxy wars, the nanomachines. It's a response to his decision to computerize the views and methods and ambition of the Patriots. And that was done through 4 AI cores. One of them is GW from 2. I think JD is one. TR is
I got
one.
you.
Yep.
Wait, I have TJ. I don't know if that's right.
probably
Maybe
right.
it's a
It
typo.
is. No, you're right.
TJ, AL, and TR.
Do you
are the
know
four
what those are
AIs.
referencing? Kevin?
Absolutely no. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I don't-
I saw 4.
We
I think they
shouldn't say
both
it.
represent. Wait. Because isn't one of them like military? So are the other 3 just like a vague genre, if you will, of a part of the boss's will for the world?
Each AI core controls, like GW is information flow. One of the other ones, I forget which one, is the military, and
Okay.
the other 2 are other avenues of life that the Patriots were making decisions for already.
Gotcha.
Like public opinion, maybe, but that would be GW. So, Omar, what were you gonna say about what they mean?
Let's not
Okay.
comment.
Okay.
Wait,
Does it come back to it in a significant way?
I believe it does.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
I was like, does it spell something?
I mean, do you have a theory, Kevin? I'm down to hear that. But
Is
if
it,
it doesn't come back to it, then I apologize. But I think it does.
It's either gonna spell something, or it's gonna be like a really stupid acronym. That's like, okay, all right.
Okay.
Ghost Recon Advanced Warfare. Something like that.
Tom Clancy.
I thought it was a particular thing. I think in
possible.
some ways it is, but I think in some other ways it wasn't what I was thinking. But
Yeah.
that's all I'll say about that.
So Zero did these 4 pillars. It's the 4 most important aspects of society that he believes the Patriots should have influence over. And he did that. That was his plan. This is how I win. This is how I continue on after
This is
I
how
do
I
something.
win.
So while that was going on, Big Boss out in the world doing his thing with his military people, maybe making up an outer heaven or something, taking care of just random jobs he gets hired for, decides to make his way back to the States and redoes Foxhound, which it sees its path followed in Metal Gear 2, the MSX NES games, where you play as Solid Snake, and at the end of the game, Big Boss is the big boss. He's the final boss. Also, I think the first one has Frank Yeager. I think the second one has Big Boss again, but I don't think it has Frank Yeager. But those 2 NES games have Big Boss.
Isn't he Cyborg Ninja?
Is Cyborg Ninja in 2 though, or is that just a Metal Gear Solid thing?
The Solid thing, I think, right?
I thought it was a Solid thing.
He might have been a ninja before.
I thought he turns bad in Metal Gear 2, and you have to fight him in the minefield.
Maybe, I don't know.
But is he a cyborg then?
No, I don't think he would be, because
okay.
that was introduced in Metal Gear Solid 1.
No, he might be in 2. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
just assuming when he's a cyborg, I think it's 1. But yeah.
Maybe what I was thinking is that he's in Metal Gear, but in Metal Gear 2 he's a villain.
I think that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So regardless, Big Boss is the enemy of both of those games, controlling Foxhound, going against. Like, he planned this under Zero's nose. Like, he came back, he's like, oh, smiles. But he decided to make Foxhound so he could try and take down Zero from within out of spite because of hatred for him after all these years. And in the events of those games, Solid Snake either kills Big Boss twice or once or whatever. He fakes his death in the first game, and then the second one he's there again. I don't know. But that is what happens with Big Boss at the end of Metal Gear 2. Presumably Big Boss is dead, because in Metal Gear Solid 1, we need the remains of Big Boss. I think that... Oh, sorry, no. Zero, out of revenge, after Snake just killed Big Boss in Metal Gear 2, took the remains of Big Boss and put him into the system to allow him to live on in this destroyed, decaying body, but mentally he's still aware of the pain and life that he's being robbed of. Again, out of spite, because of all those years of bickering. Kevin,
Okay.
Kevin, you look
All
like
right.
you're
Oof.
processing.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Does that track at
Yeah.
least?
Okay. Yeah.
Like,
There's
how
a
can you lay it out?
trail. Yeah. Yeah. There's like a dirt path for sure. Like there's definitely a path.
Mhm.
But yeah. Yeah. Huh. So wouldn't Solid Snake mention that he fought Big Boss? Did he not know that was Big Boss?
I think he mentions it in the first Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, he says he
He knows.
killed his. Does he know that he was a clone in the first one?
In the first
Yeah,
one,
what
it's
the
revealed to
Yeah,
him
he
that
does.
I think Ocelot in 1, when he's torturing him, says that he was a clone of Big Boss, and then Solid Snake is like, I killed him or something like that, and then someone talks about patricide, killing your dad. Like, he's aware. He
Right.
knows.
He's aware he killed his dad,
Yes,
basically. Okay.
but
Okay.
at that point in 1, Big Boss is being kept alive through the system, but he's basically dead, but he's being kept alive out of spite. And that's why there remains that were a thing in 1. That's why Ocelot was there in 1. He was trying to get the remains of Big Boss to free him from that prison. In the background, Eva was also there. Naomi was here as well, trying to help along and get everybody to save Big Boss. Which, honestly, now that I just said that, makes a lot of sense why Foxdie never went for Ocelot. Because Naomi didn't program it to be Ocelot, because they were on the same side.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So, I think that was everything about this Metal Gear game that should exist. That we get explained to us in 10 minutes.
It's like the worst example of these. It's just
man.
like there's so many complex relationships that should have been explored, and then they're just like, "Yep, this is what happened," and you gotta believe it, and you really have to suspend your disbelief a lot, because Major Zero, I don't know if I'm crazy when I say this, but to me he was a nothing character. He was
Literally a
just the person,
nothing character.
Yeah,
I'm right
he's
with
just
you.
the person like telling you your mission. Like I got no sense of what his character was really at all in that game, and to have the explanation that him and Big Boss had these ideological differences on the interpretations of Boss's will is kind of baffling. But I guess I'll go along with it. I guess that's what they're setting up. But it takes a lot to go with it, because you have no sense of the character, and they're trying to explain that Zero of all people is the leader of the Patriots. It's like, fine, okay, that's a lot.
And it's like, it would have been cool if maybe, like, their differences of like Big Boss's interpretation like started in MGS3, like, but differences in like other things, right? Like maybe like they just like inherently just like don't see things eye to eye, right? Like seeing that in MGS3, I think would have probably helped that a little bit more. But I don't think I got the sense of that at all in MGS3. Like it was kind of just like Zero telling Snake what to do, and Snake was like, okay, all right, sounds good.
Was it not
don't
enough
know.
that Snake thought James Bond movies were stupid, Kevin? Was that not enough?
It's not. Quite frankly, it's not. I'm sorry. Quite frankly, a cinema opinion is not enough to justify a ideological opinion of like the boss. Yeah, unfortunately not. Fortunately not.
So, and
yeah.
I mean, everything we ran through, I think is cool, but I just don't like that we're told that. I would have liked to experience all that stuff, because it sounds really interesting, and I like Metal Gear games. I would have liked another one,
There was something too that like the 4 AIs amalgamate to John Doe. Is that something that I should?
So
Did I read that wrong?
No,
Did
you
I
didn't.
misinterpret that? I didn't. Okay.
That's correct. I believe. I don't know if we talked about this earlier in the episode, but Big Boss's DNA key is the override here. Again, because I guess Zero thought that would be funny or something. And Jack, in MGS 3, when Jack is introduced, do we get any insight into any relation of that? I'm trying to be careful.
Relation with what?
Because, like, Jack, your name Jack. Isn't Jack
Yeah.
a nickname for John?
Sure is. That's my real name.
Isn't Snake's real name John? And one
Yeah,
he gets
he's
introduced as John, and then
Whoa.
Yeah, he's the John Jack.
yeah.
Your real name would be John. That's something that I've never.
JFK. John's a dumb name. I'm gonna say it. Jack's way better.
Damn.
Is no one like named Jack at birth?
Some people are. Yeah,
Okay, but
but it's
you're
but
not.
you-
no. My legal name is John.
Oh,
Never want to be like Johnny. You know what I'm saying?
No, oh god, no. Johnny's cool. Johnny's cool.
I feel like it's the same
Johnny-
thing where like, are people named Jack at birth, or are they named Jackson and then they just go by Jack? Because like I don't know
shit,
if I've ever
there's
met
that.
an at birth named Chris. You know, like I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Names are weird.
Damn.
Names
so weird.
So when they said the John Doe key to the cores, Kevin, I assumed that they were just talking about the DNA coding of Big Boss that they were talking about since the briefing for this mission.
You think Big Boss is John Doe? That's what you're saying?
I think.
Yeah.
Is it because isn't that what his name was in 3?
Maybe. I thought John Doe was like a fifth core in this explanation, but I might have just completely heard that wrong.
Because
But
I forget.
I heard there was some. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think I was jumping ahead of something. But what were you gonna say?
Yeah, like I don't know. I just I wrote out all the AIs and then they all amalgamate to John Doe. This is what I wrote, and so I do recall something like, yeah, the conglomerate of the AIs is like John Doe, and that's all I got.
Okay.
That's about it.
So,
Huh.
is this Skynet?
yeah, basically.
Okay.
That's what the Patriots AI is, honestly, though, I think. So,
Yeah.
and then I forget what happens after this. I know the trench coat little ooblets pop up, which I thought was
That's a
funny.
great bit. That is a great bit.
That was
That was funny. That was funny.
Because at first I saw like the little like skinny head. I was like, is that like the Mark II on stilts or something? But then it was like, oh no, it's the enemy. That triggers the big chase. But I think there's something that Eva is saying about the soldiers and gamers once again, and then we get a flash of like I think Call of Duty or something. Like
It looks like
No, I literally was like, wait, is that dead ass Modern Warfare 2?
it looked like it.
like I'm like, hold on, is that Terminal with a SCAR holographic sight? Like, listen. I was like, yo, wait a minute. Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
So
That was really funny.
this leads up to another vehicle segment. This time it is a motorcycle chase, going back to Eva with MGS3. Lots of flashbacks here. But this time we have Eva and her son defending these vans. Who hated this the most? Because let whoever hated it, they can just rant. I'm assuming somebody hated it.
I hated the MGS3 one a way more than this. Way more than this. This one is not great, but I did find it impressive, for sure. Like from a technical standpoint, I liked the feeling of what they were going for, but I think like when Meryl gets on me about, oh man, like can you even shoot? And it's like I can. It's just not that straightforward in this particular environment with this particular thing that we're doing. You're speeding pretty fast, in a city with targets that are not moving that slow, so it's kind of hard to really track them with any sort of consistent success, so I did get the hang of it, obviously, like as the chase went on, but I found it like generally okay. Like I found this whole act like generally okay, but like the story stuff I think was really cool, but just like the actual gameplay, I think I echo Jack in terms of like, yeah, from a gameplay standpoint, not the greatest of gameplays, like especially coming off of the high of like Act 2 where it's like I did a stealth mission in the middle of a battlefield, out in the open. Like that is the coolest thing that I thought was not possible. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. This whole act is kind of a funnel in a way. You're kind of forced into following this one dude for a good chunk of the section. You're in a really big cutscene that is kind of baffling in a lot of ways. Some ways it's cool, but some ways it's just like, all right, whatever. And then you are sort of forced into this actual roller coaster ride on a motorcycle. And the game's done that before. I enjoyed the gecko scene in South America. I thought that was cool, and having to fend off these big hulking enemies while also trying to get these like zombie essentially soldiers away from you, I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, this is just sort of standard aim and shoot. You're sort of locked into this, can't really do much. A lot of the agency is sort of stripped away from you in this act, sort of forced into these situations, which are fine. I don't think this is a bad section at all, but compared to Act 2, it's like, in Act 1, it's like, all right, we don't really have a lot of tools at our disposal, sort of just aim and shoot throughout this, and it's whatever, it's fine. It's not that offensive, but it's kind of just meh.
Omar, have you changed your thoughts at all on the shooting through the sequence? Because I was definitely having some second guesses on what I thought of combat here.
Honestly, I like the sequence. Like it was, in terms of the shooting, I don't think I had too many problems with it. I did try going into first person,
Yeah,
but I think that helped. But I just thought it looked like the art direction was really strong, and my sound system was going. I was having a great time. I don't know.
Yeah, no, like it's definitely like a fun, cool spectacle. Absolutely, like 100%. Like I'm right with you, but like I did not have that much success in aiming and shooting for sure. Like,
did she tell you? Have you tried aiming the gun?
Yeah, I'm like, have you tried slowing down? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm sorry. Like goddamn.
I mean, thankfully, I feel like I didn't even kill that many people. Like, we were moving fast enough that I feel like if I took out a couple people when we stopped, we would just get back to it and didn't really take much damage. So as a set piece, it was a cool set piece for sure. But I think I normally aim first person 95% of the time when I'm playing this game, and here it was like it felt a little sluggish, and especially with the boss fight here, I was like, wow, more so than with MGS 1 or 2, aiming felt cumbersome to me this week in this final boss fight, because it's just kind of sluggish. That bird lady's moving way too fast for how slow those guns move in first person. That it was the first time playing any of these games where I was like, this does not feel good to me.
It does move very slowly in first person. You're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Christian, were you talking about the clock tower actual boss fight? Yeah. So I want to keep like tranking all these bosses, and I remembered being like, oh, I think it's like somewhat of a long range engagement, and I bought the Mosin Nagant, which was like the end sniper from Metal Gear Solid 3 that is non-lethal. And yeah, it's even worse when you're trying to aim a sniper rifle at this thing, because yeah, it's not the best when you put it in first person. It's not the best first person shooting mechanics. It's serviceable, but it's certainly not Call of Duty or anything like that. And yeah, it's very hard to aim when you're first person.
Omar, what was your strategy for this fight? For Rage
I ran out of ammo. I was just like I was on the top floor outside shooting at all the ravens. I honestly didn't know which one. I mean, I think at some point you can see that there's a body on this one, and that's how you know it's the boss. But yeah, I was kind of just firing at all of them, and then I think at some point I ran out of ammo and had to buy some from Drebin. But it was mostly fine. Like, you know, sometimes she gets downed, right, and has to heal back up. And then on those moments, I just sniper.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, it's not as interesting as a fight as Laughing Octopus was even. Octopus.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of whatever.
Yeah, I was up on the roof too. basically the same strategy as you. So.
Same. Yeah. I was up on the roof. You know, a little bit of dodging, a little bit of rolling, a little bit of ducking, you know, getting my shots in when I can. I will compliment that, like, hey, I thought this fight on the clock tower, like, I liked where we were at. And like I liked seeing you know, even like bits of like the walls rip apart and like, you know, like break and everything. I thought that was really cool. Like it added a lot. Like it didn't feel like, even though inherently it was a little bit like the vamp fight from like Metal Gear Solid 2, you know, when you're in that like underwater, not you're underwater, but like there's like the water pit in the middle right before you get to Otacon's sister, Emma, right? Like right before you get to Emma. It felt like that, but I just like the added, you know, aspect of going up and down the stairs if you need to. I like the aspect of the building breaking in certain ways and all that. Like I thought there was enough here that I was at least engaged and at least, you know, intrigued, even though the actual boss fight itself did not require that much thought other than just like shoot at her and eventually you'll kill her. So yeah, that's how that went. Like I found the spectacle cool. Very similar to the motorcycle chase, where like the thought of it and the premise and the spectacle is very cool, but actually playing it is not as cool as it leads on to be visually.
When the walls were down, did he get knocked at all? Because Snake can get like flying off the building. He does like the ledge grab.
Yeah.
He gets burned too, right, or something? Or do you guys have that issue?
Like, isn't that later on?
Well, like yes, but like in this segment, like I think there's like a burn effect or something, or maybe I kept eating noodles. I couldn't tell if the noodles were too spicy or if he got burned. But like there's like an orange like hue around Snake, and he keeps taking his health will get diminished every minute or something. Like
I didn't notice.
Did not notice that.
Oh, okay.
Did not notice that. No.
I wonder what happened. Maybe it was the noodles. Were you guys eating noodles or? Okay.
Not at all.
Right.
I agree with Kevin. I think the most recent two boss fights, the scenarios surrounding them are really interesting. Like the horror vibes you get from Laughing Octopus and the just the idea of being like a sniper in a clock tower is just always cool. But I think both of the boss fights were, you could essentially cheese them in a way that sort of ruins it. Like the night vision goggles in the Laughing Octopus fight just ruins that fight in a lot of ways, which is kind of sad. And in this one, I would go up to the top floor like you guys, peek out, maybe shoot some of the drones, and then shoot at Raven, and then hide within the staircase. If you couldn't hit me, I'd pop back out and just keep shooting her. So wasn't really a lot of strategy associated with this fight. And yeah, it was kind of fine. Totally forget her backstory. I did not pay attention to that, so you guys are gonna have to remind me about that.
I remembered a bit of it. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I glossed all over that as well.
I wrote one thing down because again, it was another instance of like, why is Drebin telling me this now? I don't care.
It's like, why can't they could easily just have Drebin call before the fight? Like, I don't see why it has to be at like there's just call me before and be like, oh
the game
snap,
wants you to feel bad.
It's like, oh snap, you're about to fight baby girl over here. Yeah, here's a whole bio about baby girl, and then fight baby girl. You know, could have easily done that. Oh well.
Yeah, the only thing I wrote down was that she was a child POW, and then birds ate her friends when they were abandoned, and they were gonna eat her next, and then she was like no, or something, and maybe she tamed them. I don't know. I was done at that point.
It was like soldiers kept beating the children. Not quite sure why, but it was like relentless beat, which then manifested all of them to have like this internal hate that grew and grew and grew. And then one day they just left randomly. And then birds started eating all her friends. And then she was the last one. Drebin says out of like miraculous fate, the birds ate through her chains first before attempting to eat her, which then freed her, and then she went on this rampage and killed all the birds and like, you know, like stripped their beaks and all that. And then she went after the soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if she killed them. I think she did.
She probably did.
Yeah, probably did. But yeah, that's the gist.
I,
That's at least what I remember. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that like in her normal, not suited up form, it sounded like she had like one line, but it sounded like the voice actor was Ventress a little bit.
Ooh.
I don't know
Ooh,
if
if
that's
that's
accurate.
true.
Was
that'll
that
have been
Drist
dope.
to where?
Clone Wars?
Clone Wars character.
Oh,
The bald assassin woman with the two lightsabers.
Fire.
did we talk about how like these are like legit models scanned into the game? Like, I don't think that was common practice at this point.
I
But-
did not know that.
Yeah.
Wait, like real life models?
Yeah,
Interesting. Wow.
Like the ping pong ball suits.
yeah, I think so. Or I don't know, maybe.
Wait,
There's
That's what they're professionally called, don't you know?
That's dope.
right, of
wait,
course.
Omar, do you mean
Ping
like
pong
they
ball.
cast like supermodels and like scan their faces, or do you
Oh,
mean like
okay,
like a
there-
scanned model?
So, okay, I'm actually not sure if it is a scan model, but I believe these were models, and the models were made to look exactly like them.
Okay.
Don't know how they did it. I assumed it was scanned, but maybe the tech wasn't there. But ping pong balls, sure, right? I think Uncharted started that, or around the games, but
Yeah.
I'm not really
No,
sure.
I believe James Cameron's Avatar is the thing that started that.
Really?
Sir.
Was that
No.
Oh,
Uncharted came out before Avatar, sir.
on games specifically? I mean, like, but look, I like Avatar.
No, you know what? I bet the King Kong game did it, because Peter Jackson
Sure.
was messing with ping pong balls with Lord of the Rings all the time. So like, I bet when that King Kong game came out on the 360, I bet there were ping pong balls in that.
No doubt. There's one moment where she's out of the suit, right?
Yep.
And I think her dying words are something about like, no longer am I in this cage, now I shall rage. She doesn't say that, but she does rhyme cage and rage once.
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone picked that up, but I
didn't.
thought it was really funny. Okay. That's all.
We did, surprisingly, we got an L1 to look at ass here.
Dude, I was like, are you kidding me?
You don't like the hard rock ass?
Oh my god, like come on. Come on. This was the one that was like, come on. Also, another come on. Eva is like how old? How old is Eva? You
90.
know, like is she really gonna be wearing the exact same type of outfit that she's wearing in MGS3? Like, is that really what we're doing here? You know what I'm saying? That
It's the
was
same
also
character.
like another. Yeah, but like, come on, man. Like,
I'm with you.
I
That
think-
makes more sense than Zero being the leader of the Patriots.
Yeah.
I don't
Also,
know. I don't know.
Christian, I want to congratulate you. Nikita Futterman is the voice of Asajj Ventress in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and is the voice of Raging Beauty,
Good job,
in,
Christian. Good job.
Metal
Good
Gear
year.
Solid 4. Also, the
Iconic
voice
voice.
of Olga Pataki in Hey Arnold, shout out, and Smellerby from Avatar: The Last Airbender. So there you go.
I'm
Well
pretty
done.
sure she's
It's a lot
in
of range.
Destiny also, or for something.
Oh, really?
She's in a lot of stuff. Yeah. There was
Let me
another
do
game
a
I played
Control
recently where I
F.
noticed her.
Shout out to Asajj Ventress. Big fan.
We don't get a cool mask from this fight, but we get a grenade launcher. So
Yeah.
Mm.
we'll see how effective that is in the future. And then we get the final sequence here. Eva, I forgot to mention, at some point gets impaled in the exact same spot that the twig impaled her in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
And on her way down to the aqueduct, whatever, beneath all the streets, there is, surprise, an extra shipping container vehicle thing that had the actual remains of Big Boss in them. Everything else was a cover, not just the two. They were all three were covers.
It's like Chewie in The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. And when I said last week that there's a specific thing for some reason that stuck with me, it's the scene with Snake, Liquid, and Eva just like on the water. For some reason, that was an image that like really stuck with me since I saw this story like in 2015. But we get some pretty casual confrontation at first, and then it just escalates nonstop. Ocelot kind of wins here. Like, he gets his way. He gets the guns of the Patriots. He calls it the guns of the Patriots because he's the Patriot, and now all the guns answer to him. I think that's the reasoning for the name of the game. But,
Damn.
the big reveal, I think, is that GW, at the end of MGS2, the worm just split it up and discarded it in a million pieces. But since 2009, we've had a couple of years, GW has been rebuilt and has been hidden in one of the other 3 cores of the AIs that Zero started. So GW lives on in one of these other ones. I don't know which one it was. Liquid was responsible for doing that. Another instance, I'll ask you, Omar, kind of erasing some of the point of MGS2. Does this one hurt as much as the others?
It's dumb, but I don't care anymore. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I mean, like, it was at this moment where I'm like, okay, I kind of see where Omar's talking about.
Oh,
where
thank
it's
you.
like, where it's like, we're just gonna explain away everything we did in MGS2 by just saying, oh, it was just split into a million pieces actually, and we were able to just kind of just, Jimmy and Chuck in Better Call Saul when they, lining up all those paper shreds and all that. Like, that's it. All right. Yeah. I was like, okay, Omar, like, I see what you're saying. I feel you, bro. I feel you.
Because, like, I'm with you too, because there's a point where I think you could say, like, well, the Patriots are so, like, their entire operation is just so systematic and is deeply rooted in the United States and the globe for so long that even if you did take one out, it doesn't really matter. But I think you could still get that point across without literally patching together what we did at the end of 2. Like, I think you can still make that point pretty clearly without GW still existing. I think you could just be like, all right, so we have all these other things. We can influence the war economy. We can influence Wall Street, the guns, literally everything else except public opinion. We can just pay people off. We can pay off news heads. Like, that's still an option. There's a human element there, but, like, I think you can still get that point across of, like, there's a feeling that's futile without bringing GW back. So, yeah.
But, like, at the end of MGS2, wasn't all of our interpretation that the Patriots sort of won? Like, because people were still walking around and weren't reacting to what was happening in New York.
Right.
So, like, it kind of seemed like this really wasn't a surprise to me in a way. Because it's like, well, yeah, it seems like they were already still in control of people's public opinion. Like, it kind of seems like that was the point of the commercials at the beginning of the game, or like the all the TV stuff at the beginning of the game. Like, people were just so. It seemed like that was showing that people were just taking everything at face value and not really thinking critically. So this really wasn't all that big of a surprise to me.
And I mean, I'm with you, Jack. Like, I think you can still make that point across. I think there's something interesting to say that, like, if the Patriots control everything, like, if they lost their grasp on public opinion, but they still have influence over all these other things, and nothing else is changing, then it doesn't matter if they don't have GW. So, like, why bring it back?
Yeah, it's like Thanos losing a stone.
Yeah, it's like,
Still
okay,
got
big whoop. Everyone's still scared of him. Like, like, I don't know what you would lose if GW was gone, outside of maybe having an avenue where we could be like, that's how we win, like, we gotta just have everybody rise up and fend off like free will, like, which honestly would probably be really interesting at following up Metal Gear Solid 2 of like making people see everything, but you know, that's not the story they're telling, so I just think it would still, nothing would be lost really if GW was still gone.
Metal Gear Solid 3, The Matrix.
Yeah, like that's what I would have liked too. Like I would have liked it if like, you know, Liquid was like, okay, I don't have GW. I don't need the people's opinion. I have the military. I have this. I have that. It's like I'm thinking of a much wider scope than what you all thought the max scope was, which was just GW in Metal Gear Solid 2. That's great. I'm 5 steps ahead of you guys. You know, I have 3 other AIs. Like, I thought that would have been a much cooler reveal of like, oh shit, like here we are. Like, oh man, yeah.
It does feel like having GW, because I don't remember how the rest of the game plays out, like story and motivation wise, but it does feel like he's like, and we fixed it, so it's not like, why don't you just like reveal all this stuff to everybody, like this public info now. Like, they probably put that in there as an aside, so that wouldn't be the path to victory for our crew. I'm assuming that's what it is. If it is, whatever, fine, but yeah. Other than that, we just get to see Liquid do his little Ocelot's finger gun thing that Liquid never did. We get to see him doing the imaginary bangs. It's ridiculous, but I was loving it.
Yeah, this is one of the best cutscenes of all time. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I fucking was like, oh
yeah,
fuck. Like, I'm like, oh wait, so is that? Yeah, because that calls back to the hidden look things that Jack showed me on MGS3 of like he would like, it's like, oh snap, like yeah. I liked it. It's incredibly stupid, but I loved it.
Yeah, I kind of love him just doing the finger guns, because like he doesn't need to have a gun anymore. The guns of he's the Patriot. Every other gun in the world is his right now. Like, I think that's it's ridiculous, but it's very
so
fun
cool.
and very fun, like cool to watch happen.
I really don't like Liquid Ocelot. I gotta be completely honest with you guys. I think the cutscene is really cool, and the fact of having, he's like completely screwed at this point, and then he's like, nope, I'm not, you're completely screwed. I think that was cool. You guys are right, obviously over the top, it's like, oh please stop doing that. And also I just really don't understand Liquid Ocelot's motivation. Like, he just wants to be Big Boss apparently. I suppose I just don't really care for his character. He is over the top. He's boring to me. I don't really understand why he's doing everything he's doing, aside from he just wants to be powerful, which is the most boring motivation for any villain.
And
so I just don't care.
I think because it still stems from MGS1, where Liquid's motivation was to realize Big Boss's dream of outer heaven, right? Because he's still talking about that. He's saying like, I'll do this, I'll become the Patriots, I'll have say over everything, and then I'll finally make my outer heaven. Like,
sure.
So I buy that. This is a means to that end. He's clearly having a good time with it, which I'm sure is like part of what you're going for. But yeah.
So, like, did he use Big Boss's body to get to this end? And like, that's already done just off screen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, got it. Okay, cool. Okay, I was just making sure.
That's why he like discards it, and he's essentially like, I have no use for this anymore. Just throws it in the fire.
Which, physically seeing it, you know, I mean, we don't even talk about like when we see it in the truck, but like, I found that pretty disturbing. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, I found that like in a very deep way, like very uncomfortable for me. Like, I was like, oh my fucking god, like, I played as him last game, and this is where he's at. And you see his eyes moving, and you see the breathing. Is he wearing an eye patch still?
I think he still has an eye patch on, or maybe
that's
it's just
hilarious.
Like the hole in his skull or something. But yeah, there's a cover there.
I found that, like, I never thought we would be here.
Yeah,
like I found the physical. I I never thought we'd be here. Like, yeah, I found it very disturbing, very very disturbing. Yeah,
That was an
Very
image
very
that
much
stuck
with you.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's some horror shit. I saw that
And they
when I was
just-
too young.
and like
Yeah.
he just chucks that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god, dude.
But
Yeah,
but before he does do the final kill on Big Boss, see a snake, and then which I loved.
yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite part of this cutscene is not Eva jumping on Big Boss's body, like whatever. I understand it's weird. But Snake like protecting her from getting burned, and then Liquid's boat is driving away, and he's just like, "Oh my god!" Like that's the, I don't know. It's a small moment. I think it's cool. I like seeing him yell, and then Otacon's
Yeah.
Mark II jumps on the boat and
I
follows
like
him,
it too.
tracks him.
I like
Good
it.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I
that
like
it's like Snake's at his lowest point here, and he's like just grasping at desperation to see where they're going. So it's cool stuff.
I really liked it too because like it's like he doesn't need to explain. He's just like Alakon, just fucking just do something.
He
Like
does.
fuck, please help me. Like god damn it, like shit's really bad. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't. I'm not convinced by the Eva Big Boss relationship in this scene, like
Me
the
either.
romance at all. Yeah, it seems
I wasn't
crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I feel like she's actually kind of a cool character in some of this scene, like earlier, or like she's got the resistance going on, and she's got a cool thing going, but then in this scene it's all like, no, my guy had your babies. I don't even know who he was to her. Like,
I think that's the biggest part that we're missing. It's like I never saw like a really deep romantic. I saw some flirting, right? I know they had that night after MGS3. I mean during it, like the end of MGS3, but like it ends on like a kind of like betrayal that I don't think that Snake knew at the time, like what the full scope was, but. Yeah, like I think that's the biggest thing. Where it's like I'm missing a big chunk of in between that maybe if we knew of this and we saw this romance building and happening, that like it would have paid a lot more and really been a lot more effective of Eva jumping on that body, no matter how disturbing Big Boss looks right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that the end again. I think the end of Snake Eater makes it realistic enough that I'll buy it. I wish that we saw it happen, but she had no allegiances to the boss outside of the fact that she spared her when she knew what was going on. And in the end, like, they definitely had some sort of thing between each other, even if it was just flirting. But I think, like, there's moments, I think, in that final scene with the two of them in Snake Eater where there's, like, you can feel that there's something between them. Maybe it's not good, maybe it's not developed well, but, like, there's definitely something there. And also the fact that, like, she just didn't kill him. Like, I don't know if that was fully just, like, oh, I owe the boss. I think there was probably some nugget of, like, he's an okay guy to me or something. And, like, also I think she, like, maybe it was the voice direction, but in her, like, letter to Snake of, like, explaining everything, it sounded like she felt bad. Like, there was a genuine, like, thing that she felt like she was betraying in herself by doing all that stuff, but she owed, she was there for China. So, I'm not saying it's good, the same way that I'm not saying a lot of the other, like, justifications we get for the PowerPoints in this week are good. But it's a leap that I could see us get to, and I will buy. I just wish we actually saw it instead of being told it. But where we leave off to where they're saying we went to, I buy.
Yeah. Some parallels between Naomi and Eva in this game, I'm starting to realize. Down to the way they dress, obviously.
I was gonna say,
but
just like the shirt, yep.
Yeah. But just in the way that they are manipulating someone to get some sort of advantage in some aspect or another. I honestly forget what happens with Naomi, so I don't even know if I could spoil it if I even tried.
Yeah.
But you can see in this act alone, the interactions that Naomi has with Otacon are similar in a way to the interactions that Eva has with Naked Snake. It's really all I can say about that because I don't really. It's very superficial in my mind, but it seems like that was purposeful in this act.
Also, it's like I don't know, man. Like I feel like another female could probably, how I phrase this, like, I could probably be manipulated in a way that I don't think has to involve like sex, and like their body, what I'm saying, and like a form of like seduction to get me to, or get like another person to do something that they would want them to do, or like for some specific goal. Like I feel like there are other means, and like I find it like kind of, I don't know, just like I don't think it's that necessary to like have Naomi, try to heavily allude to a seduction. Again, maybe they could have played Uno in that helicopter. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But probably not, right? Like, I don't know. I think there are other ways that you could use these female protagonists that you don't have to just, oh yeah, the only way to get this woman to do to like enable a man to do something is through sex, right? I don't know. Like maybe that's too far. Like maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but like I don't know. I just felt like, oh man, like okay. I just thought it was weird, like with Naomi and the whole Aragon thing. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I think Kojima is just really bad at writing women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Go ahead, Omar.
no, I mean, he sees them as sex objects. I feel like all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
It's either that or a mother. And in this act alone, this is why I asked about Naomi at the start of like she's this now too, because she's acting as a mom to Sunny, like,
right?
like she's giving her tips, she's asking about her mother, she's like,
Us girls have to look our best.
yeah, like Kojima knows how to write a heavily sexualized woman and a mother, and that is it. And I don't even think he knows how to write them. He just writes that, like
Yeah.
because also, like Naomi, in the first game, she was nowhere near the character she is right now, I think. But yeah, like
She was British.
yeah. But in this act, like you're saying, Kevin and Omar, like she's sexualized, like she does have motherly coding characteristics towards Sunny, and then the other character who's returning here, Eva, the sex character from 3, now she's a mother. Like
Yeah.
Right.
so
Yeah. That was my issue with the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3, where like she had the potential to be a very strong character, but at the end of the day, a lot of it was her. It was like what I mentioned about Black Widow in Avengers Age of Ultron, saying like she was a monster because she couldn't have kids. Like you got the same vibes from the boss in Metal Gear Solid 3, which is really unfortunate. And yeah, also Olga, a lot of her character was her being pregnant and being a mother.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a trend, and it's not good.
yeah. But we do leave off. Oh, go ahead, Omar.
No, I have one thing I need to bring up from the first act that we got revealed in this game. In this act, it's a major reveal. Okay, you don't mind me saying it right now?
Go for it.
Oh no!
All right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
All right. So in the first scene where Sunny's cracking the eggs, she's going solid, liquid. Oh, solid didn't show up today. We forgot to mention that there's a shot of the chickens. Those names are the names of the chickens. That's what it is.
Uh-huh.
You're right.
The solid didn't lay the egg.
Yeah.
That was all.
If
Sorry.
you
Man,
write that
they're
on a note
doing-
card, Kevin, you might want to tear that one
No,
up.
I didn't. But damn it.
Christian, was that where you thought?
No, I thought you were going to talk about the Johnny unmasking.
Oh, fuck.
Oh yeah,
He's
that was
hot.
cool.
Whoops.
Very, very handsome gentleman. I was like,
Yeah.
all right then, okay,
Yeah.
King, go off.
Yeah.
I don't know, you need to hide that face, King. You know what I'm saying? I would probably flaunt that a little bit more. Definitely. I thought that was interesting. Wait, damn it. There's one more thing I wanted to say before.
Oh, I have a question. I don't know if
Yeah,
any of
okay,
us
go ahead.
speak French. What was the raison d'être?
Red Dawn.
What?
It was cool. That's what it was.
Yeah, it is cool, but what is it?
I don't speak French. I'm sorry.
All right.
Sorry, my bad. Oh, another thing. Like, I'm curious to see how they're going to somehow explain that Naomi is still a good person after all this again. Like,
Quadruple
I don't
agent.
know. Yeah, it's like, okay, all right, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. If I actually accept it, not that like I'm like the fucking like, not that I have to accept everything, whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if it works for me, I'm gonna be pretty surprised. But we'll see how that goes.
One thing I want to ask, because we get pretty much full-blown confirmation in an interaction with Eva and Liquid, is that Ocelot is completely gone. And I want to ask the panel this. Do we feel like Ocelot's kind of a tragic character, maybe? Because I feel like Ocelot, at least from what we've seen so far, is a really cool character. I like Ocelot a lot, and seeing him sort of just constantly be trying to, like, maybe he's not the best person, and maybe he's not, like, fighting for the right thing, but he's very loyal. He's right there for Big Boss the entire time. He believed in the ideas of the boss and Big Boss, and he was trying so hard for so many years to just maintain that loyalty, and then he gets immediately taken over by his best friend's son, and he's completely far gone at this point, and he has no way to get around that. Because she calls out to him, she says, like, Adam, in, like, a last-ditch thing, and he's like, the fuck are you talking about? What is this apple? Like, who are you? Like, do we feel differently?
Definitely. I think, it was kind of hard to get a grasp of what Ocelot is or was, I feel like, in a lot of those games, but definitely now that you see some of the fact of how much he idolized Big Boss to now, oh, he's not even there anymore, right? It's Liquid controlling him. Mm-hmm. It's see where you're getting at, I guess.
Yeah, and we'll see if that grows at all in anything, but yeah, Ocelot in this playthrough, because I think he's a fun villain too, and he's just a good antagonist. So like, seeing more of Ocelot, especially after 3, and seeing the context here, and just the fact that he's so far, like, he's basically dead. I think he's maybe one of my favorite characters in the series in this playthrough so far. But just thought I'd check in.
I realized something too late. I don't know if you also realized this way earlier than me, but the jacket Ocelot is wearing in this is the jacket Liquid wears in Metal Gear Solid, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay. That took me a while to get. I was like, whoa.
Didn't connect that.
Why was Akiba okay when I think they affected the nail machines within everyone, I think. If I was reading that correctly. I assume it was nano machine messing with, I think, right? So why was Akiba not, does he not have nano machines?
I don't think the game has fully explained that answer yet.
So
okay.
Unless I'm wrong.
I think Meryl teases something earlier. Like, I think she's talking about how the nano machines like amplify the best characteristics of each member in her unit, and then Snake's like, "What about him? Like, what's special about him?" or something like that. And then Meryl like sort of just trails off because like she's saying that like her crew is like specialties and different things. So like, because I believe the last time this happened, also Akiba was like not affected. Like, he's the one who saved Snake, right, in Act 1.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
maybe he's just a people person, and that's amplified when people are in need. And that's by the nano machines. I don't know.
His attribute is personability.
I keep bringing up stuff I forget to mention, but like the scene where those two guys and the Meryl's troop are down, and they're dying, and they're like, "We were great squad mates." No, we were great friends. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, would have loved to seen that. Wasn't convinced.
So
Dave Fennoy.
We leave off. The final thing we have here is Snake, now burned. He is with Eva in her final moments. I forget exactly what she says. She's speaking in like spy terms again. She's saying like, to eradicate it all, the shadow always exists if the light is there.
She's speaking Star Wars or some shit.
Yeah, she's like, to wipe out. You are a shadow living in the light. Yeah, where everything begins. To remove the shadow, you have to put out the light. And
this is Square Enix talk.
Yeah.
Save the rebellion. Save the trees. Like some bullshit.
I think she says, like, the final word I think she leaves on is like, you have to extinguish the light to get rid of the shadow, but doing that will also get rid of you.
I keep mentioning it, but actually, is it Kingdom Hearts? Like, is that what it is?
Kingdom Hearts is never that dumb.
Okay. Respect.
I hear different, but carry on.
I played them all, Kevin. I
know you have. I know. No. I'm totally not combating you. Totally not combating you.
But
God, Christian, you're so feisty today.
well, that's where we leave off, Kevin. So, like, where do you think we're going next? Like, we have a couple acts left.
Yeah. This is very interesting. I think that I'm pretty convinced that Snake is gonna die here. Like, I think that last line was like, I think that was Snake coming to terms with, hey, this is my final mission. Things are very fucked. And I'm probably not gonna make it, But if that means that the world can live on, after this, not under the rule of SOP, so be it, if like, so I think that's what we're on. I think we're on like a collision course, if you will, that will fix everything, but it is going to kill Snake. For sure. I think that's where I'm at. I think we're on like a spoilers for Red Dead 2. I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Like a John. No, not John. Excuse me. Fuck me. Why am I forgetting his name?
Arthur Morgan.
Thank you, Arthur Morgan. How dare I? Arthur Morgan, descent of like the marking of that first cough. It's like from there, it is the last remaining weeks of this man's life. And he's got a lot of things to tie up, a lot of things to do, and he eventually does it, and it ends in his death. So I think it's a similar vein here, where like I think that burn is like the mark of like, all right, things are tainted. Things will never go back. This is how it was. I know, like, they didn't indicate any reversal of like fixing Snake. As far as I'm aware, like it seemed like it was pretty definite, and it was pretty like, all right, no, you do have a finite of time here. You are on a clock, and now it's like that clock, I think is gonna be moving a little bit faster from like Snake's perspective. So I think that's where I'm at. I think that's what that line meant to me, at least.
Very nice. Well, is there anything we haven't touched on from this week that we want to throw out there to talk about a little bit? If not, I think it's time to give final thoughts and predictions. Going once.
Sounds good.
Twice.
I think we're all good.
All right. So, we know the way we wrap up. Start with Omar. Let's hear your final thoughts for this week's play segment, expectations for next week, and any plugs.
I really like the way this act looked. I think that's my favorite part about it. I think it's fun seeing that Eastern Europe, and I don't know, the mood gets it right. Predictions, I don't know. I'm excited. I guess it's a good ride so far. So we'll see. Plugging my Twitch channel again, Ohm's a Chef. I'm playing old games. I'm still playing Resident Evil 4. I can't stop. It's a good one. That's it. Did I say the name of the channel? It's Ohm's a Chef. Sorry.
It's also linked. All the links for everything in the description.
Thank you.
Jack, final thoughts, things to look forward to, and plugs.
Yeah. This is probably my least favorite act in the game so far. I think it's a lull, and the way that we play this, sometimes I feel like can impact the enjoyment of the Metal Gear games. But I feel like MGS4 is a good game to separate via acts. This just happens to be the one that is lacking in terms of engaging gameplay, and there's some very baffling decisions story-wise that I'm not the biggest fan of. But yeah, I agree with Omar. I really like the setting of this, and like I said in the past couple of weeks, I really like how this game in particular chooses to not be set in one particular area and goes to different places around the world. It does feel like an Indiana Jones type of game, or Uncharted in a lot of ways, and I really appreciate about this game. And yeah, I believe I'm going to jump into Act 4 pretty much as soon as I can. So, you can follow me on social media at FascinatedJack. And Christian and I have a Marvel's Avengers /MCU podcast called Excelsior, which you can find on youtube.com/joyclicks or on podcast services of your choice.
Very nice. This week, I'll echo great looking environment. It was really refreshing and cool to see Snake in like an urban setting as opposed to just all the battlefields. Very cool use of the environment this week, and visually very, very good. More than anything, it makes me want Metal Gear Solid Zero. It's just to explain all the stuff, because there is some really cool stuff that they tell me about, and I would love to see that, but maybe somebody ponies up and buys the rights and we get that one day. As far as next week, I'm excited. I remember what's next. Very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to talking about it. I'm probably going to dive in as soon as I can as well, because I think it's a chunky one. And you can follow me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Chun2D2, as well as here, youtube.com/joyclicks, on our Marvel podcast Excelsior, Jedi Knights for Star Wars, and Gamescast with Kevin. So, Kevin, final thoughts, predictions, plugs.
Yeah. Overall, like I didn't love this act gameplay wise. I do think like there's a lot of really cool settings, really cool premise. I love the aspect of like everyone here said it, but like having Snake in a city environment, that I found was very interesting. I love the clock tower fight just as a premise. I like the chase as a premise, but like gameplay wise, not as fun, not as intriguing. It is what it is. Definitely the weakest act so far for sure. This game's story does take turns that I'm not sure how I feel. Like it is kind of interesting. I have been saying there's no way this game is bad. This game definitely is maybe a little bit shaky, for sure. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still loving it for sure. But yeah, they're starting to see a little bit more of like the sour amongst the sweetness, overall. But I'm still enjoying it. I wonder if Snake covers his burn, or that's just a thing that just is there. Pretty cool. Interesting choice, but cool. But yeah, so I think predictions going forward, I think that Snake is on a collision course, and like I think we're gonna see a lot dire of a Snake. I think we're gonna see a Snake that is a little bit more maybe rash, maybe is a little bit desperate in some ways. I think that could be a interesting turn for his character for sure. But definitely still Snake, which just has elements of like, a bit of like trauma, if you will, of like how bad stuff went down at the end of this act. Like it definitely felt like a bit of like an Empire Strikes Back type vibe. I'm like, oh man, like there's a lot of bad stuff happened. But yeah, you can follow me. Use the comments place in source. Given that Act 4 seems to be chunky, probably going to be 2 streams. Most likely going to be 2 streams. So I'll have more details on that on Twitter at PSOurce Vids. You can catch up on a ton of Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. As of this recording, we're like an hour and like 15 minutes away from seeing some more gameplay from that game. Very, very excited for that on Say A Play. You can catch my thoughts and Tajay's thoughts on Road to Rift Apart podcast services and YouTube as well for all that. And we got some Returnal coming up tonight. Very excited for Returnal. Definitely hear my thoughts on that. And our impressions on Save Slot podcast as well with me and Arachnite for sure. And yeah, I got I'm not the boasting type, but I got Rivet's name right. That's cool, And we did a breakdown of the trailer, which I definitely expect a breakdown of the state of play gameplay for sure as well. So a lot of PlayStation stuff going on the channel for sure. So definitely keep it locked there.
Very nice. Well, that is Act 3, Third Son. Next week, we will be back going over a beefy Act 4. So prep for that. And until then, is there a...
I got one.
Let's hear it, Jack.
Oh, hell yeah.
Otacon!